Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets. It's your boy Road Dogg here with the man of the hour, the man, the myth, the legend, none other than the king himself. Dr. Karl Bryan is joining us today, attorney at law, and the number one contestant on The Bachelor. Karl, are you there?
There we go. Shoots. Bachelor. Actually, no, it's Bachelor in Paradise. Sadly, I watched an episode of that last night, and
Is that what it is now? They're now in paradise? Like they had to change the shtick, or what happened?
That's it. But it's like think Survivor meets Big Brother meets the dating game, the dating something. So there you go. It's pretty. It's classic, and they got a couple of like this one gal. She's pretty cute. This little Demi, and she's just a troublemaker, and she's getting her man stolen from her as I speak. On the, it's where it's at in the show. And anyways, I know too much about it. Anyways, humorous.
The only match there, dude, for me, the only match there is my thumb hitting the TV off button. That's a match 100% of the time when that show's on TV. Nice. So I don't know how you do it for a guy that is as disciplined and everything else that listens to 1,000,001 podcasts, does nothing but fixate himself on business. It's nice to see that you let some absolute trash into your life for about an hour a week. Tell me it's only an hour.
I assure you it's only an hour. But, sometimes having that, whatever you call it. I'm shaving a couple IQ points off as I watch, and I am absolutely okay with that. But there you go. But anyway, Shoots, what's going on, man?
That's the difference between you and I, bud. I don't have too many more IQ points to shave off, so it's all about retention at this point. So yeah, I can't afford to turn that on. It'd be bad news bears for everybody involved. All right, bud. Listen, I want to dive right in here because we got some doozies here, and I just know it's going to be rabbit hole central today. I just have this my spidey senses are tingling. So rather than have this turn into a 3-hour podcast today, I thought let's just jump in. And right out of the gates, you had mentioned making something better without making it better. This sounds like a typical Karl type of a statement for everybody listening. Like if it sounds like a political question, it's definitely a Karl type of a question. You mentioned making something better without making it better. This sounds like any political leader in their speech. The intangibles rather than the tangibles. Like I'm laughing as I'm reading this. Like, can you expand on that? Like, can you give us some examples of how you've actually seen that work? Because it does sound kind of crazy, right? Like, how do you make something better without making it better? Like, can you sort of make sense of that and unpack that for us a bit?
Okay, I want to make sure you get me laughing here. So what are they talking about? So we're making something better, but we're not doing it in a tangible way. We're doing it in intangible. So they're looking for some intangibles. Is that right?
That's pretty much the way I'm reading this. Yes.
All right. Okay. This is intrinsic value. That's where we're going here. So intrinsic value, you're going to make something better without making it better. This would be Nike's relationship with Michael Jordan, right? So hard to place tangible whatever, on the magic that happens with that partnership, but obviously it's insanely successful. Intrinsic and like Steve Jobs, I'm kind of thinking of some greats of the great, like his ability to present. Apple is not Apple without his dynamic personality. What do we call it? Flair for drama, right? Like he'd cover up, the Mac with a black tablecloth, just so simple, and then like pull it off in like such a dramatic way. Just a visionary on steroids, obviously, but his flair for drama, definitely an intrinsic advantage. like to start with, you got to be good. It says if you go all flair, it's going to end up happening. So let's make sure that we're establishing first principles here where they need to be good. Let's assume it's your chiropractor, your dentist, your landscaper, roofer, painter, whatever. But the framework, okay, so intrinsic, look, the framework is I want you to just put one word and put value there. Like Uber adds value because you order a taxi, you look at your phone, and when he's like 5 minutes away, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then he's there, right? Like rather than, remember back in the day, you'd stand outside waiting, and then you're thinking to yourself the whole time because the airport, you're going to the airport, you got to be there, and you're like, do I have to call a new taxi, right? So Uber brings incredible value to your life when you can sit there literally and go, he's going to be here in 3 minutes. Amazing, right? Or Airbnb allows you to rent your spare room, make money, and meet interesting people, right? Like that's a factor for some, and then not a factor for others, right? So, but the right person, it brings an insane amount of value to their life. Where the old, the alien just trying to get home, Elon Musk, he digs a hole between, in the middle of the earth between LA and New York, and he's going to be allowing people to drive from one side to the other with almost no traffic. This brings amazing value. The Rolls Royce is just like a 7 Series BMW, right? But the intrinsic value, the fact that you're buying a Rolls Royce, the emblem on the hood and whatnot, it's a $400,000 car plus versus the much cheaper BMW, and the BMW is clearly not inexpensive, right? Toyota, Hyundai, etc. are comparable, but because you put the BMW badge and the Mercedes badge, it becomes significantly, the brand brings it up in value, right? Like a Rolex, I like watches, you get a $25,000 Rolex, and you could spend a hell of a lot more than that. That's for damn sure. But that $25,000 Rolex, you could easily buy for $3,000 and a really quality watch that would be comparable. But the Rolex brand puts a $20,000 price tag on it. Or a buddy of ours, Mike Hunt, he's right into buying jerseys, right? So you got a game worn, like if you buy a jersey, it costs you, let's call it $100. But then if it's game worn and maybe let's assume autographed, it becomes worth 1,000, right? So the intrinsic value is the game worn, and then the autograph. Like Disneyland comes to mind. Like I remember as a kid, I'd go to, we went to Knott's Berry Farm, which I remember thinking was super, super cool. But, Knott's Berry Farm and Disneyland, it's a joke to compare the two, but it's the intangibles, it's the intrinsic value of Disney. It's the stories that you can tell. It's the bragging rights, the ears, T-shirts. It's meeting. My 8-year-old daughter can meet Mickey and Minnie. It's your kids. It's your kids talking about it for years after they went, including as adults, right? Or imagine you were coached personally by Tony Robbins. There's bragging rights that come with that, or with directly. You work directly with Dan Kennedy. They also know, like, they know that that they're gonna pay more. They know that you're gonna pay more in order to get them, right? Like Tony Robbins has coaches all around him, but if you're gonna get Tony Robbins, that it comes with an upside. In fact, he will tell you in videos all the time that he charges $1 million minimum plus upside, right? Like, do you think he's doing that? And you kind of think, but he's Tony Robbins. He does it naturally, but he absolutely, there's a strategic element to it without question. And it certainly started that way, right? So by mentioning that, it's establishing intrinsic value. That Road Dog we opened up, I think we mentioned this in the last few weeks, so with fear of repeating, but I got a client spent $100,000 back in the day. Let's call it 2008. Opened her up. She's still a client today, right? But there's street cred that comes with that, which back in 2008, charging $100,000 for a coaching program when there's coaches listening, right? I got a coach. He's got a team of 60 coaches. When he met me, he had 0. Now he's got 60 coaches on his team, and his business is thriving. If somebody's listening and they're a successful coach and wondering how the heck am I going to keep up, when he hears that I've got a client that had 0 and now has 60 coaches underneath them, there's a level of curiosity that comes with that, where it goes, maybe there's a solution here. I don't know that that falls into curiosity and whatnot, but hopefully you're seeing this from the standpoint when you're talking to prospects and whatnot, are you dropping these kinds of stories? Are you dropping these kinds of examples? Are you strategically, placing these types of examples in when you're talking to prospects, joint venture opportunities, et cetera, right? Like building up because you hear intrinsic value, you think of Rolls Royce, and you maybe think, well, I don't have that, right? Like there's definitely value in being, faster, better than the competition, better packaging, let's go cheaper prices, open 24 hours a day, having live tech support, the bigger pizza with double cheese. Like you've got to be world class, but does your client have intrinsic value, and are they thinking about it? Are you? And I can tell you that from my experiences, the answer is absolutely not. So yeah, that I guess so they're intangible. So that's how do you make something better without making it better, right? That's how you do it, right there, Road Dog. So that's my answer. There you go.
Before I let you off the hook there, I'm not going to let you be a Trudeau here and just not answer the question specific to what our desired result is today. So Justin, let me ask you, give me some examples of what a coach can do to build their intrinsic value, like the same way that say Nike, Apple, Rolex do, right? Like, can you give us some specifics, sir? Do you have anything like specific that a coach could do?
Okay. Look, yeah, that's good point, by the way. I guess I kind of skirted around that. Look, scarcity would be one that would jump straight up. Like, Road Dog, you're a business coach. You can only take on 15 clients, right? So most coaches think of themselves as not having scarcity. Believe me, you've got more scarcity than anybody, right? Because it's scarcity on steroids because you can only take on so many clients. So you tell them, look, I've only got 15 spots. So you're positioning yourself that, do you deserve one of my spots, right? Like if I take you, that means I can't take somebody else, or I got to wait until somebody cancels. Or if I take you and somebody else wants to take me on, I'll have to cancel one of my 15s to get, one of my 15 to get you in there, right? And this is something you got to be good at. Like, the power of words, right? Like, in fact, I wrote an email, came up very recently, but it's like the words that you use provide a feedback loop. And I want you to use Muhammad Ali as the example, but Muhammad Ali was so powerful in his words, and not to mention the passion and the intensity at which he delivered them. Like he became a world champion, but he became a world champion, I would definitely say to a degree of the way in which he, kind of, the way he put himself out there and just the passion and the intensity at which he spoke led along, had a huge advantage or a huge path to, creating the world champion that he was, right? So I think I called it, if you wanted to check it out, it's Speechless was the subject matter. So if you wanted to see it, just, see the power of words and the feedback loop that they provide you, just Google Karl Bryan Speechless, and the email will pop up. And I think that there is, some power there. In fact, look, here's what I wrote, right? I interviewed a guy last week. We're headhunting him to head up our digital marketing team. And after we spoke and I'd laid out what we're doing, why we exist, what I see as the future and some of the powerful and, profitable trends that I see both coming and then available to us. I showed him our software as well. And very importantly, is I painted a picture of what the software is ultimately going to look like in the future, right? Well, he sent an email immediately afterwards, and just the subject line was speechless, right? And then the email went on to, say, that it was impressive. He, hoping to jump on board, hopes we can come to some agreement, et cetera. The premise of that is, and the importance, it's when you speak to your prospects, when you speak to your joint ventures, when you speak to the accountant, when you speak at the gal at the chamber that sells all the memberships, or the person that's going to help you get the speaking opportunity, and anyone else about your business, do you leave them speechless? Do you paint a picture of, where you're going, why you exist, why you do what you do, et cetera? And so I'd say, you don't hold power because you don't think and subsequently talk like a person with power, right? Like, hear that again. You don't hold power because you do not think and subsequently talk like a person with power. Like Muhammad Ali did not have that problem. So with that in mind, I want you to think about the last time you spoke to a prospective client, and like the level of intensity, the level of passion, and very importantly, the words that you use to describe it. And then in that email, speechless was the title. What I did is I kind of loose. I don't think I did a great job, but it was late. But I put in it that if you wanted to come to a presentation of mine, this is the way that I would describe it. And then I put a link to this presentation, which some people will watch and some people won't. Totally fine. Some people have seen it before a little bit, but I'm trying to paint a picture of how you could present your presentation in a powerful way. So anyway, that may or may not provide some value, but hopefully it does. But I got to tell you, there's a feedback loop, and then use Muhammad Ali as your example. You think Muhammad Ali is a stud, ranked the greatest athlete of all time, probably somebody that we could all follow and learn from. Steal some of it, and bring that flair to your conversation so that when people are done speaking to you, they go, I'm speechless. And then maybe don't expect to get that immediately. Maybe this is something that you're going to build up towards. And maybe right now you don't feel 100% comfortable, but you know what I mean? Like, don't write checks with your backs, don't write checks with your mouth that your backside has to cash and can't, right? You don't want to be too loud until you're there, and able to fulfill, but don't be shy to paint a big picture, bring people along. So anyways, okay. So for a coach, the intangible, the / intrinsic mental toughness has got to be right up there. Like, you got to be able to handle a high level of risk and pain. Sorry, just, the life of an entrepreneur, but especially in something where in a lot of ways we sell fresh air as business coaches. If a client cancels, we talked about this in the past, and you cry in your Cheerios for 3 days, consider quitting, and, is the hassle all worth it? You're going to fail, right? You got to build up some legitimate mental toughness. Your clients need it also. And if you don't have it, you're not going to be able to pass it on. So a mental tough client is a good long-term client, maybe is a way of looking at it. So toughen up and really help your clients do the same. And then what's going to end up happening is you're going to say you have this great list of clients. Well, the reason you do is because you help them become more mentally tough. And without your kick in the pants and your guidance and your direction and your weekly calls, they might not have that, right? So create an amazing client. Let's say, imagine Tony Robbins. If you could convince Tony Robbins to work with you, I mean, no doubt you could see how he's not taking on everybody who asks. So you add value by accepting them as a client and making a bit of a big deal of it. Like I said earlier, you got 15 clients. So if I take you, I got to drop somebody else. Are you saying that? You're probably not. Okay, you're not wielding power because you're not using words of power, right? What about getting insider access to you? Like, say if you work with us, we have over 1,000 coaches in 24 countries, multiple continents, etc. That's going to allow you to get access to resources that other people just don't have access to. Like an example, when you work with us, with the clients that work with us, we have $10,000 to $100,000 marketing turnkeys, we call them. Well, if you have a $50,000 marketing system, let's say, and you show your client and say, how would you like your marketing to look this tight and this impressive at the end of 12 months when we're done working together? And say like it's a chiropractor that you're talking to, and the turnkey you're going to show them is like for a dentist, they're going to say yes. If you present that properly, very difficult for them not to dive through the computer or dive through the phone, jump across the table and say, look, sign me up, because believe me, they want to get access to that. What do they say? A picture's worth 1,000 words. Like maybe what you could do, like an intrinsic, if you work with me, you get the opportunity to be networked with other high-end clients, right? So you're introducing your clients to one another. Most coaches are trying to keep their clients away from one another, and that's just not a good idea, right? What you want to do is just be, look, introducing all of there's a debate. Maybe it's not a rabbit hole I'm not going to go through. There's arguments for both, but certainly if you're scared poopless that one client's going to find out the other guy's a client, look, you got to take a step back and you got to, go to the tools and ramp your abilities up a little bit, because what you're really nervous about is one guy's going to cancel. Like, be careful with that. Like even like within our group, right? I've got an invitation only program where you have to have sold $100,000 of coaching over a specified period in order to get in. We call it certified. But what I find is when people hear about the program, the curiosity itch of being on the inside is just too much. Like they have to ask. You know what I mean? They want to get access to it, and it's very legitimately it's an invitation only program, right? And there's a threshold. You have to have done $100,000 of coaching clients in X amount of time. So, it's, and in order to say that, again, I want you to encourage you, you got to use words of power in order to be seen as somebody of power. Another thing, like I would imagine if you're a business coach, you're looking into a crystal ball towards trends and what's to come in the future. So by hiring you, they get a window into what you see coming in the future when you talk on a weekly basis and maybe you're doing some live events, etc. Or they're first to experience your new program. You get a social media program coming out in 6 months. It's going to do X, Y, Z. You're going to get first dibs because there's only going to be 10 people that we're going to be, inviting or being able to participate in the program because it's going to be so high, so high end, so high touch. Or maybe you're doing VIP parties with wine and cheese. Okay, well, they're going to get access to that. Or you could bring in celebrities. Think of this. Here's what you want to do here's a hack on steroids. You want to create celebrities. Like I have folks that are kind of mini celebrities within our group of 1,000 coaches. Like I got Mr. X. I talked to him on the weekend, talking about some stuff, yada, yada, yada. He's spoken to a number of times actually over the last few weeks. But he's been a client for 7 years, does 8 figures in revenue, not valuation, but does 8 figures in revenue comfortably. So again, you could imagine that people want to know about him, or, we call him Mr. X. You can imagine that kind of makes it funny, right? But there's Harvard Jim and NASA Jen. Nina Hirschberger, she's in the Dan Kennedy Marketing Hall of Fame. We just launched some group coaching software and she filled, and like on the opening weekend, she filled the first group, back talking to her in a couple of hours where she's going to give us some feedback on some upgrades and this, that, and the other, but it all went swimmingly. And, the messages started at 4:30 in the morning for me, by the way, on a Saturday. Thank you very much. Right. But that's what we do. Right. So, but Nina Hirschberger is an example. Been a client for a long time, like many years. Marshall Silver, again, been a client. He was on Howard Stern, David Letterman, had his own Vegas show, et cetera, et cetera. So these types of people within our own community become like sort of mini celebrities. So you don't need to, bring in, whoever, Brad Pitt. You're creating celebrities within your client. All you got to do, it's not that hard. You just need to start talking about people and their success. You've seen it on social media a lot, where clients are talking about clients that are crushing it. And then you're interested all of a sudden in that client that's doing all these unbelievable numbers, right? It's like we get a client, he's 25 years old. He's doing about 40 grand a month, and there's no doubt in my mind he's going to become, a bit of success story and loosely and semi-famous in our little community. So anyway, like celebrity, are you leveraging celebrity is what I'm trying to say. And celebrity is absolutely, you want to create, this is why you want to do local live events and turn yourself into a bit of a local legend. If you do a live event every Tuesday for 12 months, which you probably won't do, and it's 10 times more work than it probably sounds like, but it will be so rewarding, you've got no idea. You will become a little local celebrity, right? It'll be like, oh wow, the marketing guy, the marketing gal, the business coach on steroids, etc. So celebrity should be used in your favor, and it can be used in a multitude of different ways. Territory, like let's say I'm a business coach, Road Dog, and we're in Kelowna. It's like, okay, I'm only going to work with one dentist in Kelowna, and the guy who I work with is going to crush it, totally dominate. It's either going to be you or it's going to be your competition. So give me a yes, give me a no, right? Like here's so that's like a territory, right? Like thinking that's an intrinsic intangible that you can absolutely use in your favor, that you're only going to work with one person within specified, and yet that area does not need to be huge. Like Road Dog and I live in a city where there's about 200,000 people. You could break that up into 4 territories very, very comfortably and have no worries. But you're the only one, the Lower Mission is like a suburb that by us. I'm only going to work with one chiropractor in Lower Mission because people aren't traveling that far to go to their chiropractor, right? Road Dog. Okay, so intrinsic, like, okay, here's a good one. Hopefully everybody pay attention to this one. You buy a book for how much? And that's 10 to 50 bucks, right? Well, you'll notice that like books, in fact, literally every single day I have a chair, and it's actually pretty average. Like I've got a cardboard box, and inside the cardboard box are binders from that I have had for years and years and years and years. And I put my feet on them, right? So I'm sitting on my chair, put my feet up. Where I hold my feet is on these binders, right? Why am I telling you this? So a book sells for what? 50. How much does a binder sell? And when I say binder, I want you to think binders, and I want you to think impressive ones, and the content inside them is very step by step, very ABC, very 1, 2, 3, and that if you follow it, it bloody works. If you don't follow it, it doesn't work. If you do follow it, it works. The end, drop the mic, conversation over. Well, my binders sell for how much? $3,000. But they are packaged, they are leather, embossed, great logo, great name, magnet on it. You know what I mean? But look, they sold for $3,000 on 5-year agreements where people would pay me. They have to do two. So they look, basically they would commit to 2 of these programs on a 5-year deal. Do the math. That's $6,000 a month ongoing on a 5-year agreement. That's the difference between a book and a binder, right? So don't write a book is what I'm saying. Take your content and turn it into a binder, and then do audio, and then do video, package it together, and you've got something that sells for thousands, instead of 10 to 50. Or really, look, a franchise. Okay, so a franchise, basically, I want you to think a lot of them, not all of them, right? But there's really an operations manual and a marketing manual. So 2 impressive, let's hope, or expect, binders, and that's a franchise. Think of a moving company, a cleaning company, a window washing company, painting. They comfortably sell for $45,000. Like, look it up online. Go to, what is it, Gator, whatever, Biz, Buy, Sell, etc. Lots of places to buy franchises out there, like lots and lots and lots. See how much these things sell for. They sell for 25 to 100 grand. Say $45,000. Well, if you photocopied paper, and basically we're able to bring in $45,000 as a result. And I have done that well and truly, build 2 manuals that work, that if folks follow it, they crush it, and you get the charge, to the tune of $45,000. Think of a license over a franchise, possibly. Very, very, very profitable undertaking. So your client, okay, just what I said there, rather than write a book, think about writing a binder and then having audio, video, and maybe a live event attached to it. And now you've got something worth significantly more than 50. Help your clients do that, right? Maybe what I just described is kind of knowledge and experience. So this one, unfortunately, Road Dog can't, Road Dog, me, anybody, we can't just inject your butt, right? Like a steroid, and then all of a sudden you've got big muscles. Like, that doesn't happen with knowledge and experience. But when you understand that rather than a book, let's create a binder for your client, and now we've got a license, the power of that can be incredible. So I talk about this where you've got the artist or the actor that keeps going to the auditions. Instead of going to the auditions, go to acting school, like become the best, right? And then all of a sudden the auditions are going to mean a whole lot more. So in other words, get your nose into the book and do I started this with, you got to be amazing. Otherwise, without being amazing and world class, the intrinsic stuff is possibly going to make you look bad, right? It's like the magic of being a coach, Road Dog, right? Like, as the older, the more you do it, the better you get. So over time, it becomes easier and you become worth more, right? Most industries work the exact same way, right? Like, most things that you buy is like toothpaste. You take the lid off, it's worth nothing. You buy a car, you lose $20,000, not when you drive it off the lot, like they say. When you sign the paperwork, it's game over for that car, right? Most things in life, a water bottle, you take the lid off, it's literally worth nothing. That's the way a lot of careers go, where as you get older, it becomes more difficult and you become worth less, more expendable. Coaching, consulting is the exact opposite. And just think of Warren Buffett, Mark Cuban, all the guys on the Shark Tank. You just did it, and it's so much fun. So anyway, what am I saying? As a coach, you might make a little bit less over a body of work, like let's say the first 12 months. But if you look at it in a 10-year block, my bet is that you'll make significantly more than you will in another career because of what I just described, where you get better at it, it becomes easier, and you can charge significantly more. And it's not that you do less, but it just becomes so much easier just to fill in the blank, right? So look, Road Dog, we talked about this one to death, but I imagine we'll continue to talk about it to death in the future. But live events, the intrinsic, the magic live event, you got to have great content. Otherwise nobody's buying, right? Or, actually that's not true. You can do some pretty average content and still make some pretty good sales. But idea being, let's assume you got some great content, be super entertaining. And this is how you can really crush it, right? So the intrinsic becomes being entertaining, and just Tony Robbins is the poster boy for that. Being funny and unpredictable would fall into intrinsic. I think, again, I wrote an email about this a little while ago, like recently, and somebody, I got a lot of feedback, but one coach specifically messaged me back and just, you've outlined what my superpower is. And that's that I'm super funny, I'm super charismatic, and I'm not using it in any way, shape, or form. And you have just helped me take, in one email, you have helped me take my my coaching career to new heights. So being funny and unpredictable. Like, think of Howard Stern, right? People tuned in because they're wondering, what the heck is he going to say next? Not to mention, he's hilarious for his audience. If you're not his audience, you think he's a jerk and you hate him, right? But if you are his audience, you find the guy to be hilarious, right? Jimmy Fallon, guy's stupidly talented, but I just find him to be bloody hilarious. I'm sure some people are totally annoyed by him, but that's a guy, and he brings that X factor. That's why he's, Jimmy Carson steps aside and Jimmy Fallon's the guy. So anyway, so just being, being entertaining. Road Dog, we should wrap this up here. Storytelling, storytelling on freaking steroids is an intrinsic. Tony Robbins, you wonder why he makes so much money and he's so good. A huge, huge, huge part of his success, and if you want to emulate it, you should do this. He is a master storyteller. That's how Tony Robbins became Tony Robbins to a large degree. So, and are you, are you taking lessons learned and then turning them into cool stories, right? And always, a good story has conflict, right, as the central theme. And most stories that I hear are lacking conflict entirely. So make sure, but how are you going to do that? You practice, right? And then, you're dropping surprises. Like, people tuned into Howard Stern, or do tune in, right? Because I wonder, what the heck is he going to say? Do you drop surprises, right? Like, let's just say, look, I'm doing a coaching call and social media is something we're going to be working on. Well, I call up my buddy and I bring him and I say, hey, Dave, you're not going to believe it, but I brought my social media legend with me. And he's going to help steer our conversation today. So, hey, I want you two to get to, know each other, yada, yada, yada. And then you go on. He's like, oh, wow, cool. And they get along really well. Maybe the guy ends up buying some social media services from them, what have you. But at the end of the day, like, that's, you're dropping surprises into your calls? Probably not, right? And you got to help. So all of this, help your clients do the same, right? Like, intrinsic, intangible value in and around their offerings, right? And I can just guarantee the local dentist, chiro, the cosmetic surgeon, the med spa, the roofer, the builder, whoever, they're just, the window cleaning company, the lands, they're not doing any of, they're not spending, they don't even, you'd have to explain it to them, right? They'd be like, what do you mean intrinsic value? What do you mean the intangible? How do you make something, what do they say? How do you make something better without making it better, right? So go help them. So, and do the same for you, do the same for them. Strategy, rise up. It's a step back to take some steps forwards, take some time, pause, fill in, make a list of different ways that you can bring intrinsic value to the table. What do you think, Road Dog? That's my answer.
Well, I'm shocked.
What you're looking for?
I'm shocked. And I'll tell you why I'm shocked. Because you mentioned the dentist, the chiro, the roofer, the builder, but you did not mention the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. So, like, you're getting a little off script here for a second. I'm just not sure what's going on. Like, it's almost as if you were a hostage and you don't say those words, it's like you're in trouble. You know what I mean? Like, this is sort of where we're at here. But listen, love it. But I want to go a little deeper, if you don't mind, right? Because I think I know where you're going to go with this. But like, when it comes to intrinsic value, like, is there a specific sort of X factor that you could maybe talk about? Like, is there, like, what am I missing here? Is there a deeper X factor?
Yeah. So I don't know about X factor, right? But look, the X factor in anything is to be amazing, right? Be the best, be world class. That's, almost sounds trite, but I don't think people are thinking along those lines, right? Like it's the actor going to more auditions as a solution as opposed to becoming the best actor. Um, Road Dog, here's maybe like okay, here's something to think about. If you can overlap multiple business discipline, I think that there's a lot of magic there, right? Like you could obviously you become a dentist, you can make good money, right? But the dentist gets uncomfortable and learns marketing, as an example, right? Could totally a dentist that can market will pulverize the dentist down the street that's slightly better, kind of, right? But you're taking marketing and dentistry and overlapping them. This is where you get a competitive advantage, right? Like Tony Robbins, with fear of mentioning him again, right? But he overlaps a seminar with personal development content with entertainment, right? Like again, it's like a 4-day rock concert. An accountant that understands law or an accountant that also has a law degree, just competitive advantage on steroids, right? And then if you have an accountant that understands law and business, right, which again, different discipline, again, you're potentially this is someone who's going to like imagine having an accountant who can help you take your company public. You see how that's two completely different skill sets. But if you've got that accountant, the money that he can then make, and then by the way, he can take points, he can take shares. Imagine what that might look like. And again, a friend of mine, his dad is exactly what I just described, and he is a very, very, very wealthy man. Retired for a long time, but anyway. So see the way like overlap. Like you could take tech. Look, the tech overlapping anything is, I'm going to say, a great idea. But like Microsoft took a typewriter and added tech, right? So we call word processing, right? You put liquid paper out of business, right? But like that, that's what Word is. Right? You've used Word, it's a typewriter, but with tech overlapped. I'll let you guess how it worked out for Bill Gates financially. Like accounting ledgers. Look at Excel. In the spreadsheet, and think of old school accounting with accounting ledgers. They used to literally do it all by hand. Kind of mind blowing, really. And it really wasn't all that long ago. Like if you had a good real estate brand, and we all know that there's good money in real estate, right? I'm not a fan of becoming a realtor because I think it's a horrific decision made by a whole lot of people, but like if you had a real estate brand and then you overlapped really good tech for your realtors, as in making it easier for them to follow up, think CRM and those types of solutions. That's a competitive advantage without doubt. I mean, Elon Musk, this is what he did he took tech and overlapped it with cars. So if you have a Tesla and you want to get some functionality, like at head office, they press a button and all of a sudden it unlocks on your car, right? Like Ford's, never done that, still doesn't do it. And who knows when they'll get to that point, right? Like we invented software for the business coaching industry, right? We just dropped our new group coaching software. I mentioned that earlier. I think it's going to absolutely change the game for legit coaches that are looking to scale, to definitely multiple six figures, but to legitimately hit 7 figures. The X factors, again, we took tech and overlapped, business coaching. And frankly, we got business coaching, like profit acceleration software, digital acceleration software. We're building mental acceleration software, which will be coming in the future. Took all of that, overlapped it on group coaching software. You see, again, everything is, I'm picturing the future. And I'm talking to somebody, like I mentioned last week, I'm talking about how we're going to take different disciplines and overlap them. So I think Road Dog, X Factor, kind of like that, but I'm going to say overlapping business disciplines, and that's how to create a little bit of a moat, where somebody just can't get in, or let's just call it, that's not necessarily the case, but a competitive advantage, right? And I think there's only like 6 real business disciplines. Like there's strategy, there'd be sales / marketing, there'd be finance / accounting, HR, technology, and then I guess equipment. So technology and equipment. Distribution would need to be in there, and then operations, like the day-to-day stuff. What did I just say? Strategy, sales and marketing, finance and accounting, tech, HR, distribution, operate. So that's seven. There's seven. So if you, as you're thinking about this for yourself, for your clients, just trying to you want to go to acting school as opposed to the audition, just write those down and like, here are the seven disciplines, and then think of the chiropractor, the dentist, the butcher, baker, candlestick maker. There you go, Road Dog, threw it in for you. And then just thinking about how could I adjust, what could I overlap here for my landscaping company? And I think that could be a really, real, powerful, like distribution is a beauty. We talked about this recently. Like if you bought something back, just X amount of years ago, some time ago, it used to be that it was 50% distribution, 50% product. Okay, so thinking getting a T-shirt onto your clients, the end client's back, like yours and mine, a T-shirt you're now wearing, was 50% distribution and 50% product. So what people do is, they think about outsourcing to China, right? This sort of stuff, like, oh, in other words, what they're trying to do is get the T-shirt done cheaper, get something done cheaper. Well, in this day and age, and how far we've come, what you're going to find is it's significant. It's about 10% product and 90% distribution. So as you're thinking about overlapping different disciplines and giving your client a competitive advantage, are you going to get him a competitive advantage on his profit and loss, like as in his profitability? Or are we going to go build one of those monster businesses that doesn't make a lot of money, right? You get that. That's why so you'd be better to spend time helping your client find a way to get better distribution than you would outsourcing it to China and shaving 3 points off the price. You'd be better to do both, by the way, to be clear. But I just want to make sure that the mind organically, the average business owner will go to product, where in actuality distribution is probably, there's so much more room to move there. And then if you're a business coach and you go, give me the hack, like just give it to me. I just joint venture. That's where the magic lies. You can go out there in what I call the wild and go find your own clients, right? And advertise on Facebook and advertise on LinkedIn and send out private messages and, make phone calls. But there's somebody like the radio station has a list of clients who have all spent tens of thousands of dollars and made long-term commitments to buy radio ads. Okay, well, that's the kind of client that I think is going to stick around for a significantly longer period of time. So you'd be better to go to, that's a good use of that. That's, as far as distribution for your business coaching, that can be a little bit of a hack right there. So there you go, Road Dog. That's, I don't know, the X factor. I think like overlapping different business disciplines, and I think a really good metaphor and a framework. Just think of Microsoft. That is they took a typewriter, added tech, right? That's word processing, and look at how it worked out. So how do you take multiple, how do you overlap business disciplines? And I think great way to build a crushing business. So what do you think? You like?
So with all of that, you want to close us up, like of everything. Can you pick one thing from today that you would think would be the biggest needle mover, if you will? Like, what's the one thing that somebody can take from today's episode and implement?
Yeah, easy. So what, like, opening question right there, intangibles, which really intrinsic is what we're looking like. How do you create intrinsic value? Take, maybe 30 minutes every day for the next 90 days. Just time to think, private room, lights down, no phone, no getting up and going to the bathroom, to do, ideally pen and paper. It's got more power than on your phone or an iPad or whatever. And just write down different ways that you can jack up intrinsic value for you. And then to complement that, and in 90 days, you're going to come up with some amazing thoughts. And then just get out of your bloody way and go deploy. Actually, Road Dog, on the pre-show, we opened up one of our clients, right? I can't remember what were the numbers that he gave. Like, he went and put one post book. It wasn't strategic. He wouldn't think about it for 90 days and then say, hey, here's my great idea. He went to his personal Facebook page, put a post up that he was basically going to crush it. It was about being positive in the face of, a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty, COVID this, COVID that, and everybody's sitting on their hands and nervous about what's to come. And he put a message of positivity out there. And how many leads did he say he got? Scott, what was it? 70 leads, guys. 70, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. 70 leads, folks, right? It's going to lead. He had literally appointments today, off of it. So again, okay, why did I say that? Just, you're going to come up with ways to create intrinsic value for you and your coaching and the way that you're going to describe the future and your products and your coaching and the results and to do, right? And then you're going to overthink it. And then what are you going to do? Nothing. And then in 30 days, you're going to go, I haven't done anything, right? Like, dude, get out of your own way, experiment. Like your greatest teacher is doing. That's it. Go do, right? Screw it up, see what happens. So anyways, Road Dog, yeah, intrinsic value is, if I were to take anything today, it would be real easy, be that. And again, it's Mike, what is Michael Jordan to Nike, right? Like, only everything. Like, it's just that, but it's the partnership, and nobody could have foresaw it. And there's been many relationships like that didn't work. That wouldn't have, Nike's got lots of, for every Michael Jordan, believe me, they got plenty of screw ups where, the guy hit the drugs or, whatever, ended up in jail, whatever it was, or just didn't improve, right? Didn't wake up and do the training, right? We spent too much time in the bar chasing the girls instead of, shooting the basketball. But did Nike stop sponsoring people? Absolutely not. So there you go. So a little bit of magic in that. Actually, Road Dog, one little quick rabbit hole. Like, think about that. So who's your Michael Jordan? Like, for your business coaching company, who's that one person locally who, if you form a partnership with them, they can take you to entirely new heights? It doesn't need to be somebody doing it full time. In some cases, it's better that they're not full time, right? That they're already out there in the trenches doing X, Y, Z. So thinking about that, folks, that's what I want to say. But intrinsic, building up yours, and then of course your clients. So when you're doing that time to think, not just on your company, but thinking about how you could do that for other local businesses, it's a huge one. So there you go, bud. That's my answer, Shoots.
Well, there you have it, folks. And thanks for tuning in to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets with the man on top of the hill, the king himself, King Karl. And if you're not on the inside getting access to the pre-show, or you aren't getting Karl's daily emails, or just want more information how to build your coaching company, visit focused.com and subscribe today. If you enjoyed the podcast, please share with a fellow coach or someone you think might make a great coach. And of course, as always, we'd appreciate if you'd rate this episode, as we know that all the streaming services give an insane amount of weight towards reviews. So please leave us a review if you like what you heard. And that is it for another episode, folks. And we'll catch you the next time. And remember, progress equals happiness. Take care, everybody.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.